You were born in 1940 inches Leeds, England, to two completely ordinary parents who have no connection to magic at all. For the first 11 years of your life, everything seems mostly normal, except for the strange and sometimes frightening things that happen around you. Whenever you become upset or frightened, light bulbs suddenly explode. Objects slide across the room without anyone touching them. And small accidents seem to follow you everywhere. Sometimes things you wish for simply happen, even though you have no idea how or why. Your parents are deeply confused and worried. Doctors can't explain it. Teachers think you're trouble. And neighbors begin whispering about the strange child down the street. No one realizes that these events are the uncontrolled bursts of magic coming from you. Then, on your 11th birthday in the summer of 1951, your life changes forever. An owl suddenly appears at your house carrying a letter addressed to you in elegant green ink. The letter invites you to attend Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Soon after, a witch from the Ministry of Magic visits your home to explain everything to your shocked parents. She reveals that magic is real and that an entire hidden magical society exists alongside the ordinary world. Because you are born with magical abilities, the Ministry is required to inform your parents and enroll you in magical education. In a single afternoon, the life you thought you understood disappears. What once seemed like frightening accidents suddenly becomes proof that you belong to a secret world that has existed unnoticed for centuries. A few weeks after receiving your Hogwarts letter, your parents take you to London to buy everything listed on the strange supply sheet. The instructions lead you to a small, grimy pub called the Leaky Cauldron. At first, your parents can't even see it, which is unsettling enough. But things become even stranger when the bartender taps a few specific bricks on the wall behind the pub. The bricks shift and slide apart, revealing a hidden cobblestone street filled with magical shops. This is Diagon Alley, the main shopping district for the wizarding world. Almost immediately, you realize how different this new world is from the one you grew up in. The first stop is Gringotts Bank, run entirely by goblins with sharp features and suspicious attitudes toward humans. Inside the massive marble building, your mother exchanges ordinary British pounds for wizard currency, gold galleons, silver sickles, and bronze knuts. From there, you begin collecting the long list of required supplies. You buy robes, potion ingredients, parchment, quills, and a stack of expensive textbooks filled with strange magical knowledge. The most important purchase happens at Ollivander's, a dusty wand shop that has been making wands for centuries. The wand chooses you after several attempts, warming in your hand as if it recognizes you. You also buy an owl, which will deliver your letters since the magical world relies entirely on owl post. By the end of the day, most of your money is gone. To you, everything feels exciting and magical. But to your parents, the experience is confusing, expensive, and deeply strange. It becomes clear that this hidden wizarding society operates under completely different rules. Separate from the normal world they understand. On September 1st, you arrive at King's Cross Station with your parents, carrying a trunk full of magical supplies, and still trying to process the strange new world you've just discovered. The instructions in your letter tell you to find Platform 9 Sigru Tours, which sounds impossible until you learn the trick running straight through the brick barrier between platforms 9 and 10. Your parents watch in shock as you disappear through solid stone and emerge onto a hidden platform crowded with students in robes and families saying goodbye. Soon, you board the Hogwarts Express, the train that will carry you north to the school in Scotland. During the long journey, you begin to notice something unsettling. Many students grow up in wizard families and talk casually about magical traditions, famous wizards, and games like Quidditch. When you mention ordinary things from the non-magical world, like television or electricity, some of them don't even know what you're talking about. It becomes clear that there is a cultural divide between students from magical families and those like you who grew up among non-magical people. When you finally arrive at Hogwarts, the first major event is the sorting ceremony. Each student sits beneath the enchanted sorting hat, which reads your mind and assigns you to one of 4 houses: Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin. This single decision determines where you sleep, where you eat, who your closest friends will likely be, and which groups you compete against for the next 7 years. Although the system is meant to organize students, it also divides them, turning the houses into rival groups that rarely mix and constantly compete with one another. Once classes begin at Hogwarts, you quickly realize that the education here is unlike anything in the normal world. Every subject revolves entirely around magic. Your schedule includes Transfiguration, where you learn to transform objects into completely different forms. Charms, where spells can levitate objects or unlock doors. Potions, which involves brewing complex magical mixtures. Herbology, where you study dangerous magical plants. Astronomy, taught at midnight from the castle tower. History of magic, which covers centuries of wizard conflicts. And defense against the dark arts, which is supposed to teach protection from dark magic. These subjects certainly sound impressive, and the magic you learn is powerful. However, something important is missing. There is no mathematics, no science, no literature, no geography, and no modern subjects that students in the non-magical world normally study. For students like you who were born to non-magical parents, this means your regular education effectively stops at age 11. If you ever wanted to return to the normal world, you would be years behind everyone else academically. Even worse, many of these magical classes are surprisingly dangerous. Potions can explode or melt through cauldrons, sometimes leaving students with burns or poison exposure. Herbology involves plants that bite, strangle, or release dangerous toxins. In Transfiguration, mistakes can cause objects to partially transform in unpredictable ways. Spells practiced in charms can easily backfire if performed incorrectly. Despite all these hazards, the school has very few visible safety precautions. There are no protective goggles, no emergency systems, and very little supervision during practical experiments. At times, Hogwarts feels less like a school and more like a place where children are casually taught extremely dangerous abilities. Beyond the classrooms and magical lessons, the Hogwarts castle itself turns out to be one of the most dangerous parts of your education. At first glance, the ancient fortress seems breathtaking, with towering stone walls, enormous halls, and enchanted ceilings that reflect the night sky. But living inside the castle quickly reveals that it is far from safe. Many of the staircases inside Hogwarts move on their own, shifting directions without warning and sometimes leaving students stranded on the wrong floor. If you are not paying attention, you can easily end up lost somewhere in the enormous maze of corridors. Even the stairs themselves can be hazardous. Certain steps are designed like traps, sinking suddenly under your weight and causing you to fall through the stone floor if you are unlucky. Doors throughout the castle also behave unpredictably. Some will only open if you ask them politely, while others refuse to open at all unless you know a specific trick. Navigating the building often feels like solving a puzzle just to get to class on time. Then there is Peeves, the resident poltergeist who seems to take great joy in tormenting students. He flies through the halls causing chaos, knocking over suits of armor, dropping objects on people's heads, and generally making life miserable for anyone he targets. Teachers rarely manage to control him, At first, Hogwarts appears to be a magical wonderland filled with enchantment and mystery. But as the days pass, it becomes clear that the castle itself is unpredictable and sometimes dangerous. Simply walking through the halls can feel like surviving a series of small hazards every day. As the school year progresses, you begin to feel something you didn't expect when you first discovered the magical world distance from the life you once knew. Because you were born to non-magical parents. You still remember what normal life was like before Hogwarts. But the wizarding world operates under a strict rule called the International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy, which forbids witches and wizards from revealing the existence of magic to non-magical people. That rule includes your own parents and childhood friends. When you return home during holidays, conversations quickly become awkward. Your parents ask about school, but you cannot truly explain what you are learning. You can't describe dangerous spells, magical creatures, or strange events happening inside the castle. Even the simplest stories require you to hide or change the truth. Eventually, you stop trying to explain at all. The life you are living at Hogwarts becomes something your family can never fully understand. Communication itself is also strange and inconvenient. Instead of phones or modern technology, the wizarding world relies almost entirely on owls to deliver letters. Sending a simple message takes hours or even days. Your parents struggle to understand why birds keep appearing outside the house with letters tied to their legs, often worrying the neighbors in the process. Over time, the gap between the two worlds grows larger. Your old friends move on with their normal education and lives, while you are learning spells and magical history they will never hear about. You slowly realize you exist between two societies that cannot truly interact. In the wizarding world, you are different because of your non-magical background. Yet, in the normal world, you can never fully return to the life you once had. As you grow older and spend more time in the wizarding world, you begin to notice that it isn't nearly as welcoming as it first seemed. Beneath the excitement of spells and magical creatures lies a deep social divide built around something called blood purity. Many wizarding families believe that magical abilities should only belong to those born into long-standing magical bloodlines. These families proudly refer to themselves as purebloods, claiming that their heritage makes them superior to others. For students like you who were born to non-magical parents, this belief quickly becomes personal. Some classmates begin using a cruel insult, mudblood, to describe witches and wizards who come from non-magical families. The word carries the implication that your magic is somehow lesser or stolen, even though you worked just as hard as everyone else to learn it. At first, these comments may seem like childish bullying, but over time you realize the prejudice runs much deeper. These attitudes are not limited to a few rude students. Entire families, some of the oldest and most influential in wizarding society, openly support the idea that pureblood wizards should hold power and control the magical world. Their beliefs shape politics, social status, and even government leadership. Some officials within the Ministry of Magic quietly sympathize with these ideas, allowing discrimination to continue unchecked. As the years pass, you begin to understand that the wizarding world has its own form of racism, one based not on skin color, but on ancestry and magical heritage. What once seemed like an exciting hidden society now reveals a darker reality. Beneath the spells and ancient traditions lies a system of prejudice that divides the magical community and quietly pushes it toward future conflict. As you grow older and begin working within the wizarding world, you start to see another disturbing reality behind the magical society you once admired. The government itself is deeply flawed. The Ministry of Magic, which is supposed to maintain order and protect magical citizens, is largely controlled by powerful pureblood families. Many of the most influential positions are not earned through talent or fairness, but through family connections, wealth, and long-standing political influence. This creates a system where certain families hold power for generations while others have little voice at all. The problems become even more obvious when you learn how the wizarding legal system actually works. Unlike the legal systems in the non-magical world, many basic protections simply don't exist. Trials can take place without a jury, and suspects are sometimes treated as guilty before they are ever proven innocent. Legal representation is not guaranteed, and powerful officials often have the ability to influence outcomes behind closed doors. Justice often feels less like a fair process and more like a political decision. The worst punishment the Ministry can impose is imprisonment in Azkaban. This prison sits on a remote island in the North Sea and is guarded by terrifying creatures called Dementors. These beings feed on human happiness, slowly draining prisoners of every positive emotion they have until only despair remains. Long exposure to them can drive a person completely insane. Despite the cruelty of this system, the Ministry continues to rely on it without hesitation. The more you learn about the government that controls the wizarding world, the more you realize that beneath its magical appearance lies a deeply corrupted system of power and fear. After graduating from Hogwarts, you eventually find work at the Ministry of Magic. The job is not glamorous, but it offers stability and a steady income. For a while, life seems relatively normal. The wizarding world continues its quiet existence hidden from the non-magical population, and most people try to ignore the tensions that have been building for years. But that fragile sense of peace begins to collapse when a powerful and terrifying dark wizard rises to prominence, Lord Voldemort. Voldemort builds his movement around a dangerous ideology centered on pure blood supremacy. He believes that only those born into magical families deserve to possess magic, and that witches and wizards with non-magical parents are stealing power that does not belong to them. His followers, known as Death Eaters, share these beliefs and begin carrying out violent attacks across the country. Entire families are targeted simply because of their ancestry. Some victims disappear without a trace, while others are found murdered with the Dark Mark, a symbol of a skull and serpent floating above their homes. Fear spreads quickly throughout the wizarding community. Many Muggle-born witches and wizards begin hiding or fleeing, hoping to escape the growing violence. The Ministry of Magic claims it has the situation under control, but those working inside the government know the truth. The authorities are overwhelmed and struggling to respond. Voldemort's influence continues to grow, and the wizarding world slowly descends into a hidden war. For people like you born to non-magical parents, the danger becomes very personal. Simply existing now places you on the list of people Voldemort believes should not survive. Eventually, the growing danger forces you to make a choice. Instead of hiding and waiting for the Death Eaters to find you, you join the Order of the Phoenix, a secret resistance group founded by Albus Dumbledore. The Order is made up of witches and wizards willing to fight back against Voldemort and protect those being hunted. Many of its members are ordinary people, teachers, ministry workers, and young wizards who simply refuse to accept a world ruled by fear and blood purity. The work is dangerous and exhausting. You spend your time escorting vulnerable families to safe locations, gathering information, and disrupting Death Eater operations whenever possible. During one mission in 1979, you are tasked with helping a Muggle-born family escape before Voldemort's followers can reach them. Just as you are preparing to move them to safety, several Death Eaters suddenly appear, blocking your path. A fierce fight breaks out. You manage to hold them off long enough for the terrified family to escape, buying them precious time to disappear. But you are outnumbered, and the battle quickly turns against you. A killing curse strikes you from behind, ending your life at only 39 years old. Your body is later recovered by fellow members of the Order and buried quietly among other war casualties. Your parents are told only that you died in a tragic accident. Because of the laws of magical secrecy, they can never know the truth about what happened or why you died. The war continues for 2 more years before Voldemort is finally defeated. But your sacrifice is never known outside the hidden wizarding world. In the end,